If you think about some of the pro Tekken players and content creators that you know, you probably associate those people with one or a couple of characters. And I think that touches on one of the most enjoyable parts of fighting games. We sort of search for these characters that we resonate with somehow, and through the experiences we have playing the game, we develop our own style and way of doing things. And when you can tell that somebody is as passionate about their character as you are about yours, and you are reasonably evenly matched, that is when the game becomes its most enjoyable to play and its most enjoyable to watch. The idea of character loyalty is sort of on people's lips right now because of some internet drama that we luckily don't have to get specific about, but it got me thinking about this idea of playing what you love versus playing to win, right? In my last video, I talked about my irrational dislike of the character Brian, and even though I had some very aggressive comments on it, the response was positive overall. If someone calls me an idiot because of my opinion on one character, when I put the opinion out there, that's entirely to be expected, and I did expect it, and I actually had a lot of fun reading those comments. But I also had a couple of comments saying that the intro was too long and the video actually starts like 6 minutes in, and that made me feel like the point had gone missing a little bit, because for me that's sort of where the video ended. The point wasn't that Brian is a cheap character, even though I definitely think that he is. It was more like we love to talk shit about each other's characters. We all feel very strongly and very differently about the game. That's why tier lists become so controversial, right? And it's actually one of the most fun aspects of talking about the fighting games. Two of the best friends I've ever had are Brian mains, and if you think they let me get away with playing Elisa, then you're dead wrong. It was more like, if I were to indulge in getting really salty about Brian, this is what it would sound like. And the fact that some people took it literally, it's kind of funny, and I guess the joke's on them, but it also highlights that point that people feel very strongly about these characters to the point where they will protect them and experience a sort of sense of loyalty towards them. So how do you feel about someone who picks a character they are completely apathetic about simply because it lets them win more? And how do you feel as a spectator and a fan when the person who picks to win, partially because of that choice, beats someone who is picking and playing more from the heart? And your answer to that will come down to, I think, your personality. I'm a bit of a hipster, and I tend to always root for the underdog, so you can sort of guess which camp I'm in. But I also, luckily, have never had to play or win at Tekken for a living, for money. And I think this is why being a content creator is so much better than being a sponsored player. I could lose horribly and laugh about it, and it would probably make better content than if I were doing really well. Meanwhile, I go to these tournaments and I see the famous pros, the really big names, the people who tend to win these tournaments, and they will go the entire day without smiling unless they have to for a picture. They're kind of pulled around by managers, by interviewers, people who want to put a logo on them or put their face near a logo. Most of the time they look like they want to throw up. Meanwhile, the rest of us can kind of practice and get better at our own pace. We can enjoy things any way we want, So who am I to say that someone shouldn't pick a character just for the sake of winning, especially if that's their job? Nobody. But then again, who is anybody to say that I can't privately dislike someone for making that choice and root for somebody else instead? I would be a hypocrite if I said that you should ignore any outside opinion on your character and just play what you love, because I've made so many videos talking about balance, and I do think Tekken 7 is a game where you can significantly improve your odds of winning by picking a high tier character. One of the reasons that balance is so important is that the more integrity the balance has, the more integrity the competition has, because every win, by definition, just becomes more earned, no matter who is winning. And it sort of reminded me of what happened with football, soccer. If you're in the US, in the UK earlier this year, I don't know if you followed that story. I did kind of closely, even though I don't watch sports. I don't really know anything about that world, but I thought it was interesting to see how the sort of heart and soul of a beloved game and a culture dies as it becomes increasingly corporatized. And in fighting games, if there are these large incentives to winning that have nothing to do with playing for its own sake, then and the balance is poor enough, by the way, that you can gain a legal advantage by picking a certain way, then of course people will start doing it. It's sad but obvious. So I think it comes down to, for the rest of us to be, it's about honesty with yourself, I think. My friends who main Brian genuinely believe that character is fine, and that's why I respect them despite the fact that they play that character. But if someone knows a character is broken and picks it anyway, or even lies about what they actually think about that character to downplay it, they are completely within their rights to do so. But the rest of us are under no obligation to be impressed at all with what they achieve. So that's just a short video with my thoughts on that. Now I have to get on a train and go up to Tokyo, the anus of the civilized world. I really hate Tokyo. For me, it's like going into the pit. It's like going into the mines of Moria. But I am a dirty baka gaijin, and I have to get to the Swedish embassy to sort some things out. I'll be back in a couple of days, and we'll talk again. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again very soon.